A very good day to my dear Honorable Madam Jonathan Nain Binti Umar. Well, I'm Divagar Subramaniam and my team gonna present about case review of Sara vs Pablo. So I want to elaborate issue part. Before I want to jump to my part, I want to roughly briefing about the case review. First, Sara hating Pablo and wishing him dead had no reason to have a confident her bomb building skills. Second, she had a flunked high school chemistry. Nevertheless, she found on the internet a set of directions for making a crude experimental item and followed them as the best she could to create a letter bomb. Third, she made a Pablo, this letter bomb, laughing at herself at attempting such a futile experiment. And the final is the letter bomb exploded in Pablo's hand, killing him. And there I have a main question. Is this case whether Sara can be liable for a battery? Let's look into issue part, my part. Okay. It is generally couched in the following: Sara hating Pablo and wishing him dead, whether referred to the mental state of the Tort user seemed a biased incident, the hateful action was taken against people or property. Then, based on the call of the question, the hateful action born into Sara against Pablo had no reason to have a confidence in her bomb building skills. Then the second issue. The second issue was whether Sara made Pablo a letter bomb against had holes. The letter bomb exploded in Pablo's hands, killing him. His self-defense act must be done voluntarily. Then the following part, my team partner Amira will take it.
Hi, my name is Amira. So I will be present for the third issue and the fourth issue. The third issue mentioned as whether Pablo was seriously injured and died due to Sara's act. And for the fourth issue, the fourth issue stated whether as there were no concern asked by Sara to mail the letter to Pablo. Therefore, Pablo had no idea what was in the letter or from whom is the letter. And it's considered that make Pablo without his consent and be violent or not as long as it is an unnecessary and unauthorized contact. So next I will pass to my friend.
Good day, madam. My name is Rajwinder and I will proceed from here on my part his rules. Before we start, let me explain a little bit on battery. Battery is defined as the international contact or use of force on the other people or items into the person without his permission and with the aim to hurt the person. It is only taken into action when there is an actual physical contact without a person's permission with the intent to hurt them. Assault is usually followed by battery, which is why assault and battery are frequently used together. Now, let's look into the element under the rules. The first element under the rules is intention. The purpose of both civil and criminal battery are distinct. It is not essential for the criminal purpose to cause the injury, but it is necessary for the criminal intent to create a conduct that affects the person since it results in battery. For example, if a person tries to hit someone without their agreement and ends up hitting someone else, the purpose of the violence is transferable and the individual is still responsible for battery. As a result, the intention is the sole state of battery and is very essential. In this case, the statement which states Sara hitting Pablo and wishing him dead, we can see that Sara had the clear intention to hurt Pablo. The next slide. For case reference, we can refer to Marobe and Yamuro case, where the respondent was lashing the appellant with a rope when he hit his right eye, causing him to lose that sight, and the appellant, a child, sued his father for violence. According to the appellant's and other student testimony, the harm was caused by the respondent's willful act. However, the respondent said it was an accident and he didn't mean to hit the appellant in the eye. As a result, a monetary of what 30,000 Somalian shilling was made by the court. Moving on to the next slide. The second element under rules. Next. The second element under rules is contact. As we all know, battery requires physical contact or the use of force. Harm caused by force is not fundamental condition, but the use of force is fundamental necessity for conducting a battery. It is not essential to contact the plaintiff's body or even his clothing to constitute an assault or battery. Just knocking or seizing anything from his hand or touching anything linked to his person is an insulting manner is sufficient. Physical touch does not have to be direct or individual contact. And indirect contact can also be called physical contact. Battery does not require body-to-body contact since it can also be for future occurrence, which implies that even if it's a delay between the accused activity and the compliance damage, battery still will exist. 4 hours cease against all odds. The letter bomb exploded in Pablo's head, killing him. As a result, this case can be defined under indirect physical contact. A similar case would be Collins and Wilcox. This case is about a police officer that was interviewing a lady. She grabbed her arm to keep her from going away. The lady, however, scratched the officer and she was charged with assaulting a police officer while on duty. The act of the policewoman constituted violence. As a result, the defendant's actions were justified and her conviction was overturned. That will be all from me. I will pass it on to Maha to explain the remaining elements under rules. Thank you.
A very good morning to Madam, and let me to continue from the parts. The element is a harm. Damages is required for the battery to be incomplete. Damages may take many forms, including physical, mental, and emotional harm. Physical harm is not the only consequence of battery. The victim must have been harmed in some way, although the amount of the injury may be a little. Substantial damages unnecessary. Unwanted sexual content or unpleasant touching without consent is also considered as the battery, since the causes body, emotionally and mentally harm to the victim. In the case as Sara Vs Pablo, Pablo was seriously injured and died due to the Sara Act. Some of the examples that we can refer to the Gibbons v. Pepper and Plessy v. Horn are, next slide. The defendant causes a halt to a flee and run down the claim by a whipping. The plaintiff injury was deemed to be a direct outcome of the defendant action. As a result, we can see that it was charged with a battery. Another example would be in the case is Plessy v. Horn, that it's important to understand the forces used does not have a personal to be a permanent wave that the claim proceed to be a bar. On the other hand, they threw the water plaintiff in a saloon. The defendant was found guilty. In the cases that we could see, the harm damages occur to the plaintiff of each cases. Next slide. The next element would be the consent. The victim should be kept in the dark about the accused plan on the van. Victim event in the implanting touch in the battery committed when the doctors remove organs from the people to sell them. For example, they are termed in the battery, and if the doctor discovered that appendix in the patient's body would be causes a problem during surgery and notifies the patient that appendix will be removed, and doctor is not accountable for the battery because of the patient gave his agreement. In the cases of Sara vs Pablo, there was no concerns asked about the Sara to mail the letter to Pablo. Therefore, Pablo had no idea that was a letter from them, whom is to be letter. The lady went to a hairdresser to get her hair permanently waved. Next slide. The plaintiff hairdresser used to rinse and dry her hair in an unfavorable way. This is not only charges the color of her hair, but it also caused a terrible rash all over her body. So finally, would be uncountable for the battery. A person must have the purpose to continue performing all the act that would be damage another person, and the act must be include physically contact or body contact. The touch must cause harm to individual in some way, and the conduct must not be illegal. And most importantly, the victim must be unaware of the conduct implement the victim has given his or her permission. So thank you so much.
The next slide is application. Good day, madam. My name is Yamyasi Rajasegaran and I will be explaining on application. It is uncontested that Sara meet all the elements of the law when she intentionally made unwanted contact with Pablo. Therefore, Sara might be punished under the Penal Code Section 352, punishment for using criminal force otherwise than on grave provocation. It states that whoever assaults or uses criminal force to any person otherwise than on grave and sudden provocation given by the person shall be punished. Intent. Sara had the intention to cause harm to Pablo by purposely sending him a handmade bomb. Therefore, Sara's battery against Pablo will be considered justified when Sara was in the wrong of immediate harm. With the attempt to open it, the bomb blasted and caused immediate death to Pablo. Therefore, this element is fulfilled. I pass the next slide to Naveen.
Hello guys, my name is Naveen Kumar Vigneshwaran. So I would like to explain about the second elements of the battery, which is arm. It's not required for Sara wrongful act to bring about the direct contact with the person in question, which is Pablo. It is adequate assuming the acts is get ruling and power in outcome in that contact. However, in these situations, for common ground for Sara didn't straightforwardly harm Pablo, and she made assaults to harm him, and it additionally caused his demise. Therefore, this element is fulfilled. And third element, which is contact, and the actual acts bring about the one of two type of contact, making any actual harms or injuries a casualty. And Pablo's reasons for death is the name actual harm that was brought about by Sara herself. Consequently, these elements is fulfilled in these situations. And for the last element of the battery is no consent. There was no consent gotten in some information about sending a bundle to him, and Pablo unconsciously opened the package that contained the bombs. He didn't have any data or any information from whom this was shipped off on the ground that it was a ship of his location. Along this line, this name in the name no consent, and this component or these elements are fulfilled as a last element of the battery. And I pass to my friend Sharmila. Thank you.
So hi everyone. So my part is about conclusions. So battery is you can change the slide. Battery is unintentional thought in which a person causes unintentional injury or harm to a person or their property. To be considered a battery, boldly contract must causes injury or be objectionable. The touch must causes harm to the individual, and the conduct must not be legal. Most importantly, the victim must be aware of the conduct, implying that the victim has given or her permissions. Battery is made of all these elements. Next slide. Sara liable for battery under trespass to person. Sara wished for Pablo under death by creating homemade bombs, which Sara learned how to make by internet, and she made step by step how to do the homemade bomb. And she mailed it to Pablo. The bomb eventually exploded in his hand and killed him. This showed that Sara has the intentions, the direct applications, and done voluntarily to create explosive items to harm Pablo. Based on the analysis of the case, liable of battery is fulfilled of all of the elements, which is intent, contract, and no consent. So Sara is liable for battery. That's all from me. Thank you.